Justice League, Snyder cut of Justice League, the moment we've been waiting for. It's your boy Icon. We've reached the beginning as we make our way to the end. I mean, right out the gate, I thought this was phenomenal. I greatly enjoyed it. It makes me want to never watch the the theatrical version ever again, and I probably will not. So we're gonna go through the whole thing. We're gonna talk about it. I'm probably gonna break this thing up because this thing was basically 4 hours and like 2 minutes, and I'm not gonna. And it's like I'm not gonna. For lack of a better term, I won't be doing the film justice if I try to talk about 4 hours and 2 minutes all in one shot. So like I said, so in this video, we're going to go over parts 1 and 2, and then I'll do parts 3 and 4, 5 and 6, and then I'll do the epilogue with my final thoughts. So jumping right into this thing right out the gate. So this thing takes place like during I can't even say after BVS. This thing takes place during BVS. It opens up with the Superman death scene. And man, when it's the moment where, you know, the horn, like the horn from Doomsday went through Superman's chest, and then, you know, like he died, like he was like standing there, he's like, and he died and he killed over. So right before he dropped dead, like before he dropped on the ground, he basically screamed, obviously, you know, when he got stabbed. So, and again, he's Superman, like he's the most powerful being of all time. He screamed so loud. The force from his agonizing scream was so powerful. It sent shockwaves throughout the planet. And he's responsible for waking up the mother boxes. The sound of Superman screaming, I can't get out of my head now. And when I say like heard around the world, like Cyborg, like because his scream was loud enough to the point where it woke up the mother boxes, and Cyborg is made up of mother box technology. Cyborg heard that shit. You know, like Cyborg heard his scream. Lex Luthor, he was inside Star Labs in the water. He, like, Kal-X the machine was showing him Steppenwolf or whatever. That, you know, he even heard it. And Lex is a G, because like when Lex heard his scream, he turned and he was just like, huh. And then he just went back to doing whatever he was doing. Like, that thing hit Atlantis, like, under the water. His scream woke up the mother box in Atlantis. Even underwater, Mirror and them was just like, yo. And then, like, it even reached the Amazons. Like, the Amazons woke, like, the box of the, with the Amazons woke up. So I'm just like, damn, like, how powerful is this dude? And, and because of that, like I said, the mother boxes are awake now. Steppenwolf, he's been alerted of their presence. And now Steppenwolf is basically, he's coming for that ass. So then, like, after the scream sequence, it takes us to, Bruce Wayne when he's out there looking for, he's trying to recruit the team. He's trying to bring the team together. So it's already established that Diana's on the team, like she's joining the team. So he's looking for everybody else, and then he goes after Aquaman. So the scene where he finds Aquaman, there wasn't much of a difference between this scene and the one from the theatrical cut. The conversation between the two of them was actually shorter in this because, in the theatrical cut, they threw in jokes about like, oh, I heard you like to talk to fish. That wasn't in the film. If anything, it was Bruce Wayne, like in the film, it was Bruce Wayne trying to pay the townspeople off to give him information about the Aquaman. And even when he finally found him and he yoked him up and he put him up against the wall, and then the two of them started having like a normal conversation, he did do the whole like, oh, dressed like a bat, like you're out of your mind, Bruce Wayne. But, they skipped the whole thing about that doesn't mean I'm wrong. So we all know how that one goes. Like he asked him to join, and Aquaman basically tells him to kick rocks. After Aquaman jumped back into the ocean, this group of women just started singing. It was really nice. I don't know the point of that was, but it was a nice song. And then Bruce Wayne was just kind of looking around like, okay. And then he walks up to Alfred. He's like, yo, Alfred, I found him, but he, unfortunately he said no. So then Bruce gets back on the jet, and then, like he bounces. We then cut to Martha Kent. She's basically selling the farm, because, and when we all know that story, like she couldn't keep up with the payments, because she ain't got no job. And she was forced to sell the farm. So now like she's getting in her car and she's driving. I guess she got an apartment or something, because she said that, like she did say that she got a place to live like close to a diner or whatever. So like, again, so she out, and the Kent farm is now for sale. We then see Lois Lane, she's at her local Starbucks. She's getting some coffee, and she takes it over to Superman's monument. So she, she bought two things of coffee. She gave one to the police officer that was there, and he was just like, oh, I didn't think you'd show up today, Miss Lane. Like, thanks a lot. And then he was like, you never missed a day or whatever, because apparently ever since Clark's death, which I guess it's been maybe like a week or two since, because it ties in directly to BVS, you would have to think that not much time has passed. Like I said, maybe like a couple of weeks or so, from the BVS. So then, like she's going to Superman's monument though, like she's going there every day, like to honor him, and to basically grieve. We find out later the girl ain't been back to work since since Superman died, which is perfectly fine, totally understandable, and makes perfect sense. So like she gets, she pays her respects, gives the cops the coffee, and then she leaves. Now we're doing the Wonder Woman scene where, and this was very interesting to me because in the theatrical cut, they made the one like because like there were a group of guys that basically took over this building. They had a bunch of kids hostage. In the original, like they came to the building, and of course, yes, they were going to blow the building up. And then all the guys said was, we're just going to send London or Europe or whatever back to the Stone Age. And it was never really explained why. For some reason here, it wasn't really explained why either. It was explained a little bit more than the theatrical cut, but for some reason I understood it better now. Like when I watched this, like their motivation, of why they're just like a bunch of radicals that were going to blow themselves up, because they thought that it's for the greater good of, like their country. I was like, that just made more sense. And the head person in charge, he seemed more like a big deal because again, in the theatrical cut, it made these guys seem like they were just random dudes that were just doing something random, and that they were stupid. They're just like stupid, like random goons. Here, they seem like real bad guys. Like, they seem like real like menacing bad guys. So, Diana, she sneak, and then they did the funny thing where they did the thing with the kids where the guy's got the gun pointed to the children, and then he's, the kids are screaming, everybody's screaming and crying, and he's just like, shut up or I'll shoot you. And then he puts the bomb on the table, and he's like, I'm gonna blow this building up with all of us in it. And if I'm one of the kids, I'm just like, okay, so if I scream, you're gonna shoot me. If I stay quiet and let you do what you're doing, you're going to blow me up. So I'm dead either way is what you're saying. So if that's the case, I might as well just keep screaming because you're going to kill me anyway. But anyway, so Wonder Woman, she show up, uses the lasso to talk to one of the dudes. She gets the information, and then she's just like, why are you doing what you're doing? And then he tried to explain it, and she was just like, you know what, whatever, dude. All she wanted to know was that there was a bomb. So the bomb was set off. There was like 24 seconds to go. Diana goes busting into the room. She does the Wonder Woman thing, like she's blocking the bullets. And they brought back like the Wonder Woman theme, which was awesome because I love hearing the Wonder Woman theme. And they show like her speed, and again, like a lot of that stuff was pretty much the same from the theatrical cut. And if I'm not mistaken, in the theatrical cut, after she blew threw the bomb up in the air, she did do the gauntlet strike where like she knocked the dude out, but we never saw the aftermath. It was almost like she did the gauntlet strike and then it just cut to the next scene. See here, after Diana grabbed the bomb and took the bomb and threw the bomb up into the atmosphere, and the bomb exploded. And then she came back, did her gauntlet thing to save all the kids. Because at that point, the guy was just like, well, screw it. Since you took the bomb, I'm just going to murder everybody with this machine gun. So Diana came in like she blocked all the bullets with her gauntlets. And then, the guy was just like, yo, I'm about to reload on this chick. And I'm just like, you just watched her knock out 50 million bullets, and you gonna reload? I was just like, I'd have ran at that point. So he tried to reload on her, and then before he had a chance to reload, she did the gauntlet strike. But this time when she did the gauntlet strike, that bad boy blew up the entire building. And I feel like when she did that, the cop, there was like this one black cop, he was outside. He kind of looked like, oh man, we were too late. The bomb went off. And I'm like, no, Wonder Woman just blew this. Like, she basically killed this guy because there is no way on this planet he survived that blast. She blew homeboy to kingdom come. All you saw was his hat just floating on the floor. And, but she did protect the children because the blast goes forward, not backwards. So Diana murdered him. She walked over to the kids. She started talking to all the kids. She was like, hey, you guys okay? Everybody said they was okay. She saw this one girl, and she was just like, hey, can I be like you one day, Diana? And then she was like, you can be anything you want to be, child. And that was so beautiful. So now we're getting to the beef. The beef of chapter 1, which was my favorite part of chapter 1. Put some respect on Themyscira. Put some respect on the Amazons. They're in the temple where the first mother box is, and they're guarding the mother box. They all got their spears and everything pointed at the mother box. The queen shows up. She's just like, oh, Steppenwolf is here. And, well, he ain't showing up. But then Steppenwolf shows up, and everybody's just like, oh, Steppenwolf is here for the boxes. Like, we must protect the boxes at all costs. So Steppenwolf come in, and he's just like, puny Amazons. He was like, I will kill you all and bathe in your fear. And then the queen, like, I love the queen. I love the queen of the Amazon. She looked at him dead in his face, and she was like, Amazons, show him your fear. And they said in unison, we have no fear. And I was like, bro. If I'm Steppenwolf, I'd have been like, I need to rethink this one. Because I was like, they told him to his face, they were just like, we ain't never scared. So, and then Steppenwolf, and to his credit, to their credit, Steppenwolf was like, all right, y'all ain't scared. He's like, I got something for your ass. He takes his axe, he starts fighting, parademons show up, and the Amazons they were holding their own. There was like 50 of them pushing Steppenwolf back, fighting Steppenwolf one-on-one, trying to take him out. And I'm just like, they dead ass serious. Like, they not, like, ain't nobody scared of those Steppenwolf. So they're fighting him. The queen has the mother box, but then after a while, like, more parademons started showing up, and then, like, the power of Steppenwolf, he started taking over. So one Amazon that was on the floor, she said to the queen, she was like, you have to seal it. You have to seal the thing. And I'm just like, okay, well, there's, why are they making such a big deal out of this? Because in the theatrical cut, the queen had the mother box. She ran out of the temple, and the Amazons, like they closed, like, the doors behind her. Like they basically sealed off the chamber where the mother box was. So the point was to seal Steppenwolf within the chamber, which they did. And in the theatrical cut, the queen, she ran out of the chamber, the Amazon sealed the chamber, and then she got on the horse and dipped. Steppenwolf jumped out of he busted through the roof of the chamber, and then he chased her. Here, there was actually in the Snyder cut, there was actually a purpose to that, because the reason why they made such a big deal out of them sealing the chamber was because the plan was to drown and kill Steppenwolf, seal him in that chamber, and kill him along with 200 other Amazons that were in that chamber. And I said, God damn. Because I'm like, I'm all for the greater good. I'm like, there was like 300 of y'all in that thing, and they sealed all of them inside with Steppenwolf, and they dropped the chamber off a cliff and just dropped it into the ocean. And I was just like, you just murdered like 400 people. That scene, like, I felt that. I was like, and even then, like, the queen stood over the cliff, and then she was just looking, and she had to be thinking to herself, like, did I do the right thing? I just sacrificed a shitload of my people just to trap this one dude inside this chamber and kill his ass. And then, and then to make it worse, the damn thing didn't even work, because Steppenwolf and the parademons, they busted out of the water. And then, after they busted out of the water, then the chase started. And I was just like, so you just sacrificed 500 people for nothing. I was like, damn. But hey, but like they said, they ain't got no fear. No fear, no pain. That was their sworn duties, Amazons, and plus half of these, like, all of them are basically like over 500, 6,000, 5 million years old, so they lived long lives anyway. But that was still an OG way to go out. So so then, like, we get the scene where, like, he's chasing them throughout. He's chasing them on horseback throughout the land. And this was way more gangster than it was in the theatrical cut, because, in the theatrical cut, Steppenwolf was knocking some Amazons down. He knocked over a horse or two before he eventually, knocked over the queen and took the mother box. In this one, he was straight up cutting bitches. Like, it was one girl, she was on the horse. She was running towards him with the bow and arrow. He took his axe and he just chopped her in two. And I was like, oh no. He took a horse. There was a horse that had like a rope on he grabbed the thing, swung the horse, and bashed that horse into like 4 other horses and killed like 4 of them. I was like, this is really brutal. And then I started thinking to myself, why didn't we get this the first time? And I'm just like, you know what? The reason why we didn't get it the first time, because Warner Brothers folded like a bunch of pansies, and they were like, oh, it's too much violence. It's too much. And I'm like, man, I didn't sign up for a picnic. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's Steppenwolf. Like, people supposed to die. So, So like he chopped the one girl in two. He knocked the queen down, and then he got his hands on the mother box. And then once he got his hands on the mother box, he was like, "Foolish Amazons, you will all die at the hands of Darkseid." And then and then when he turned around, every Amazon on the island came around the corner. And as bad as Steppenwolf is, as much as a badass as he is, as many Amazons as he killed in that moment, even Steppenwolf, he looked over at them Amazons and he was like, "Hold up." He was just like, "Yo, I want the smoke, but I don't want that fire." And then like he called the portal, and then he took off and he bounced. And then she walked up to the queen. One of them walked up to the queen, and then she was just like, "Oh, he's gone back to his realm." And then she was like, "No, he's gone to look for the other boxes." And then she was like, "We must light the fire of Artemis." And then she was just like, "But men won't know what it means." And then she did the, "Men won't know what it means, but she will." And then that's how chapter 1 ended. And which was like I said, which was like that was cool. So the Amazons for me, like, they're the MVP. Chapter 1, like I said, but that was cool. So now we're moving on to chapter 2. So for part 2, the Age of Heroes, this this takes place. Steppenwolf is here now. He has one box. He's trying to find out where he's gonna set up shop. He ends up setting shop at that weird like foreign like Russian place that was in the theatrical cut. Like I said, he sends the parademons. He's like, "Go out there and find the mother boxes so the unity can exist." So we then cut to, back to Themyscira, and the queen, she has the arrow of Artemis, and she's doing a ritual because what they're saying is now that Steppenwolf has the boxes, and he's obviously going to go after the other two. Man's world needs to be informed that there's danger coming. But the problem is, like she said, nobody knows that danger's coming, but Diana does. So in the theatrical cut, they made the whole scene seem like, okay, you got to warn Diana that Steppenwolf's coming. So the queen basically just takes a fire arrow, shoots that shit into the sky. It lands into into the monument. The monument lights up, and Diana's like, "Oh, there's trouble coming." But see, in here on the Snyder cut, that scene, they made a big deal out of that scene. It was more like a ritual. The arrow was important. Like, it was like a mystical arrow. Like, the queen actually gave it in, she gave like an incantation or something, like she spoke words, and then when she fired the arrow, and then, the arrow took off and it lit up the monument, it was more than just doing that just to warn Diana, because the monument had an underground passageway that explained the danger that was coming. So when Diana saw on television, she saw that the thing was on fire, she goes down there, she takes the arrow, she goes underground to the secret passage. She knows exactly what to do with the arrow. Like, she takes because the arrow served as a key. She takes the arrow, she puts it into, she puts it into like this hole in the wall that perfectly fit the arrow. It opened up the passage, and then she starts seeing the hieroglyphics, and she starts seeing the history about Darkseid and about the unity and about, like the destruction. So now she's prepared. And I was just like, well, damn, like, this, like, they did a very good job of making that whole thing seem like really, really important. Like, it wasn't just like, it wasn't Diana just saying like, "Oh, stories that I heard as a child, something cool happened." She actually read the writing was on the wall, if you will. So now she's just like, "Oh, snap." And she needs to go warn Bruce, because she's like, "Yo, the time is here." We cut to Star Labs now. And then in Star Labs, Cyborg's dad is there because, he runs Star Labs. And while he's there, we run into Ryan Choi. And when he said his name was Ryan Choi, I was like, hold up, like Choi, like Ryan Choi. Apparently, and for those that don't know who Ryan Choi is, Ryan Choi was he's the second Atom. His character did pop up in the CW Crisis DC TV episodes, but he's also... the original Atom was Ray Palmer. Atom is the guy with the red and blue suit where he can grow large or he can shrink himself down to the size of an atom. Ray Palmer was the original. Ryan Choi ended up becoming the second Atom. He took over from Ray Palmer. So we don't get Ray Palmer, but we get Ryan Choi. So Ryan Choi was supposed to be a part of this. And I was just like, wow, we could have got the Atom. And then the damn theatrical cut, got rid of all that. So, so we're talking to Ryan Choi. Cyrus Stone, he goes back home to go talk to Victor, and then he's just like, yo, Vic, we got word from the streets that, people looking for these boxes, you dig? So he was just like, yo, the mother box isn't safe, so we got to find a place to hide the mother box. And then, because he was just like, there are monsters in the streets, and then Victor was like, well, you would know all about monsters, wouldn't you, Dad? And I was like, that was unnecessary. And then it cuts to the next scene. And the next scene, so now we take the Aquaman where, he's swimming in the trenches, he's swimming in the deep, and he goes to this shrine. It's a shrine to the original king of Atlantis. And the dude from Aquaman, that was training him, the guy that trained him since he was a child, he runs up on him and he's just like, yo, Arthur, he was just like, first of all, you sleep in a different place every night, but for some reason you always come here to this monument. He was like, the time has come because the box is awoken, Steppenwolf is awake. He's the one who gives Aquaman his armor and his mother's trident. He's like, it's time for you to, take your mother's trident and put the armor on and fulfill your destiny as the heir to Atlantis. And then he's like, why don't you go ask Prince, King Orm or Prince Orm that, since you want to have a savior. And then he's just like, oh, Prince Orm is not the true king. You're the true king of Atlantis. And he's just like, well, screw Atlantis, because he got beef with them, because they killed his mom, but it was nice to see the two. And then he threw the trident at his feet. He threw like the armor at his feet, and then homeboy just got mad and he dipped. But it was cool to see the conversation between the two of them, because in the theatrical cut, they made it seem like Aquaman was just floating around this whole time, and he just accidentally just ran up, like in the monument at the right place at the right time. I was under the impression, because we didn't see the Aquaman movie at that point, obviously, I was under the impression that he was in Atlantis. So when the Aquaman movie came out, and he was, with Mira, and they went to Atlantis for the first time, and he was just like, wow, it's beautiful. I was like, weren't you in Atlantis in in the Justice League movie? But apparently that wasn't Atlantis, that was just like some random monument. Thank you for explaining that Snyder cut. So so moving right along, we then get the scene where Steppenwolf, he posted up now, like he set up shop already, and a minion from Apocalypse actually pops up. He runs up on him, and then he's like, Steppenwolf. He's like, have you found the unity? And then he's just like, yes, I found the unity. And then, he told him, he was just like, tell Master Darkseid, that what my findings are. Tell Master Darkseid what I found. And, and then he told him, he was just like, oh, you're trying to get back into Lord Darkseid's good graces, because he said that apparently, Steppenwolf, he did something where, like, there were people that were trying to take the throne of Darkseid, and he slaughtered all the people that he thought was trying to take his throne. I guess that's, Darkseid got mad at that, because I mean, for one, it's like, well, if I'm supposed to be like the Lord and the Emperor or whatever, it makes me look like a bitch if you're killing all the people that think about, taking the throne. He's like, I should fight these battles myself to prove why I'm all supreme. So I guess he felt like that was treason, and he cast Steppenwolf into exile and sent him on a mission to find the mother boxes. He was like, after he's conquered a certain amount of worlds, then he'll be allowed back to have a seat at the table. So so again, and Steppenwolf is Darkseid's uncle, so his nephew is like, cast him aside and he shamed him. So he's just like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to find the unity. I'm going to bring the boxes together. And then he was just like, see that you do, Steppenwolf. And then only by then, by Darkseid's hand, shall you return to the table. He's like, find the mother boxes and bring back the unity for victory for Darkseid. And I was just like, yeah. I was like, you almost made me like cheer for the villain real quick. So he sends he sends more parademons out there. He's just like, yo, go find the boxes for your master. Then it takes us to the scene where, Diana, now that Diana's read the writing on the wall, she goes and sees Bruce. And, the conversation between the two of them when she walked up into his house or the Batcave or whatever the hell they were, it was different. Like it was almost like it was the exact same scenes. Like the way the scene was shot from the theatrical cut was the exact same scene that was shot in the Snyder cut. The only difference is the dialogue was different. Like when Diana even like the littlest, subtlest things, like when Diana walks in the room and then, Bruce is just like, I paid millions of dollars for that security system. In the theatrical cut, Diana responds by saying, yeah, it looked expensive. And then, in this one, when he's like, I paid millions of dollars for that security system, she's just like, yeah, it took me a whole minute to break into it. So, it's just like, it's things like that where it's like, that didn't that didn't change the course of of the film either way. It was just one of those things like, what was the point of changing the dialogue, because both, but either one is fine, so whatever. So they end up having the conversation, and she's just like, oh, there's an attack coming. They don't go out to the lake and have a conversation on the lake, because and even then, in the theatrical cut, Bruce was talking about how he was fixing that plane so it can hold like a bunch of people and hold cargo. And I'm not gonna lie, even back then, I was just like, I know Bruce is like he's like smart and all, he's the world's greatest detective, but I'm just like, when did he learn how to build an airplane? Like, the fact that he was actually able to build that big ass helicarrier was like, that was always weird to me. See, but here in the Snyder cut, he said that he's taking a crack at trying to fix it because all his engineers at Wayne Tech couldn't get it to work. And then she's just like, oh, you think you can get it to work? And he's like, I have to get it to work. I have to try. So he actually can't fix it. He's trying to fix it because he knows he's going to need it. And while he's continuing to try to fix it, then that's when Diana tells him the story and talking about, like the age of heroes when the great battle was fought. And here's one of the biggest differences from the theatrical to this one. In the theatrical version, they're just like, oh, Steppenwolf came to Earth to try to scout it out for Darkseid. When Steppenwolf came with his Parademon army and the Mother Boxes, like the heroes of man's world, the Amazons, the Atlanteans, like a Green Lantern or two, like all the tribes of all the worlds, they banded together to fight Ares, and they took down Ares. He was defeated, and they sent him back to Darkseid in shame. That was the theatrical version. In the Snyder version, Darkseid actually showed up. It wasn't like, yo, I'm gonna send my minions to scout. Like, Darkseid rolled up on Darkseid rolled up like a boss. Like, he came himself to take over the world, and man's world banded together to take down Darkseid. It was a young Darkseid though. Like, it's not the Darkseid that we've grown to know with his hands behind his back speaking to Kal-El using his Omega beams. It was a younger Darkseid who had, he had the axe. He was a warrior. You could tell he was a conquering warrior, and he was here to try to take over the planet. So again, like the tribes of man, like everybody banded together to try to fight him. Diana's mother, she was there. She had brown hair. She didn't have blonde hair. So I guess the brown hair was supposed to symbolize that she's younger. She was still there. All the Amazons were there. The original King of Atlantis that was in the Aquaman movie, he was there. So that was cool to see. They had the guy that played Zeus. And then Ares, who was the villain of the original Wonder Woman, he was there at the Great Battle, and he's the one that drew blood on Darkseid. Like, Ares of all people, was actually the person that, broke Darkseid's axe and actually like drew blood on his shoulder. Then Darkseid hit the floor, and then once Darkseid hit the floor, like, all of his minions basically got scared and they dipped. They destroyed. Then it was the regular stuff that we knew, where he destroys the Mother Boxes. All three Mother Boxes got split, and then they said that the energy of the Mother Boxes died. Darkseid's minions dragged him back onto the ship, and then they fled and they left. They went back to Apocalypse. So then the Amazons took one box. The Atlanteans took a box, and then the tribe of man, they took a box as well, and then they buried all the boxes. But then Diana was just like, oh, but something awoke the Mother Boxes, and now that they're awoke, they spoke out to Steppenwolf, and now he's here to find the boxes. So she's just like, yo, it's time to get the team together. She's like, it's time to get the team together because Steppenwolf and Darkseid, like, they coming for that ass. So so now they're at the point where they're just like, all right, Diana's like, all right, Bruce, where the team at? Because we're gonna need them. So and that was it for part two. So that's it. So far so good, because it's like I'm enjoying. I mean, aside from like the Battle of Heroes, the only big fight scene we've gotten thus far is the Amazon fight scene when Steppenwolf showed up. But I'm appreciating this because I'm liking the story. I'm liking the fact that they're telling the story. I'm liking all the stuff that we didn't get to see before. It's added in now, and not only is it added in, it's actually making sense. Like, all the stuff is like, it's making sense, and it's putting the movie together in a more epic way than it did before. Again, even the arrow where the queen fired the arrow, the arrow meant something. Like, it was a key that opened the passage that told you about Darkseid's first encounter. So, I thank you for that. So that was it. That was my review for chapters 1 and 2. My review for chapters 3 and 4 will be up soon, followed by 5 and 6, and then the epilogue. So keep it tight, guys. Leave a comment. Let me know what you thought about the first 2 chapters so far. Let me know what interests you. Let me know what you think about, like, Ryan Choi, the stuff with the Amazons, Darkseid being the person to fight the original battle. Like I said, let's talk about it because this Snyder cut is the ish. Thank you for tuning in, guys. And until episodes 3 and 4, take care. And I'm out this bitch.